Hey everybody, it's Lindsay and I'm here today with a video on stamp stacking again. I'm going to switch it up today though, and I'm going to start from the top and bring it down to the bottom. I'm using the Rainy Days stamp set from Two Paper Divas, and I'm using this great umbrella from the stamp set. As you'll notice, I'm only going to be using 3 stamps. 2 of them will be sentiments from this stamp set, so you don't need a whole lot of stamps to make this technique work. So I've got this umbrella loaded onto a large acrylic block. I've inked it up with Memento ink, and starting in the top right hand corner, I'm going to go ahead and stamp this down, making sure to cut off the right side as well as the top of this umbrella just to give it a more interesting look. I'm inking up this umbrella again, and I'm going to stamp it towards the left now, and just to make sure the top is cut off on this as well. And I wanted to make sure I had 2 umbrellas at the top that are spaced a little bit apart that look like they're in front of everything else. Now I cut 3 masks with Ink-a-Dink-a-Doo masking paper. I stamped these with the Memento ink, trimmed them out with fine detail scissors. They're ready to go. I found that 3 masks work really well for me with this technique. You could cut less. You could cut a mask for every single stamp you make, and that would make it a little bit easier when figuring out where your masks need to go. But I found that 3 works pretty well for me, and if I need any little masking, I can use a Post-it note, and you'll see how I do this in just a moment. So I went ahead and masked off those 2 top umbrellas, and then I'm going to go ahead and stamp 2 more umbrellas that look as if they are behind these. And one right in the center of them, and the one right off to the left of the very far left umbrella that I've already stamped. And again, I'm making sure that these are hanging off the paper just to give it a little bit more interest. And I'm going to speed this up a bit. I've put on that 3rd mask right on the center umbrella there, and then I'm going to stamp right below. Now again, I'm cutting off the top of this umbrella to make it appear as if it is behind these other umbrellas. This is what really makes this technique work. You need to cut off certain part of your stamping. And this is where it gets a little tricky too, because you need to make sure that you have everything around where you're stamping masked off, because one little mess up can ruin your entire card front. So here you can see it's getting a little bit trickier. I'm having to move my masks around a little bit more, but that's okay. Just take your time and double check before you stamp. Now here you can see I needed to go ahead and mask off this other umbrella, but I just needed the little pole handle masked off. So I just used a small piece of painter's tape and masked that off quickly. It worked well, and I didn't need to cut a 4th mask. Now here you can see I'm going to go ahead and leave on that painter's tape because I still need that masked off, and it works really well to do this for little spaces that need masked. Here you can see I'm going to go ahead and stamp this one right in the center of those other umbrellas, and I double checked before I stamped to make sure I had everything masked off. Now I'm going to go ahead and stamp this last umbrella on the very far right of the cardstock, and again I'm going to cut off the right side of this and also the top as well, and that will complete the panel. You just need to make sure you take your time with this technique and double check. So there is this little sentiment that says "under the weather" with the question mark in the stamp set. I put this right between all the poles on the umbrella, right at the bottom on the right hand side. There's a little almost upside down U shape, and I just tucked that right up inside there, and I'm going to stamp this down in Memento ink because I will be doing alcohol ink coloring all the way down here as well. So I wanted to make sure that my ink wouldn't run when I brought some ink down and pushed it over this sentiment. So for my umbrellas, I kept it really simple. I'm just doing 2 different colors, 3 colors of each color group. So I have some yellows and reds here, and that's all the colors I'm going to use on my umbrellas. I have a thing about red and yellow with umbrellas. I don't know what it is. Curious George, I don't know, something. But every time I see umbrellas, I want to color them red and yellow. So I'm using these 2 colors here, and I am not worrying about making sure there's not 2 colors at the same, that are touching each other. I want some of them to be like that. So to really carry your eye across the card. So here you can see I've got 2 yellows next to each other, I've got 2 reds, and then I'm also going to end up pulling that red all the way down through the card, so it really just draws your eye right across the card front, and it doesn't skip over anything. There's not too much going on with too many different colors. It's really a nice, clean and simple look that you get with one stamp and just a few colors of markers. As you can see, I went ahead and now you can see I'm bringing that red color from the top right hand corner of that first stamp that I stamped all the way down to the bottom left corner, and that's really going to just let that eye carry right down to the bottom of the card to where your sentiment is. Now for each of my little handles on the umbrellas, I'm coloring them just very simply with some gray. And then here's where it got fun. I wanted to create like a stormy sky look, so I'm going to slow this down so you can see what I'm doing here. I'm just taking my marker and starting right underneath those umbrellas, I'm flicking in a downward motion. And this is really just going to help make it look as if the sky is very streaky and raining, as it normally does when it really rains. I'm using a very light gray marker right now, and this is going to help build up the color. So start with your lightest when you do this and just really put down quite a bit of color here. It's very light, so you can't really see a whole lot of it, but it's going to help you build up to more intense colors in just a moment. And I'm really bringing this quite far down the card. So now that I've got a nice base layer of that, I'm bringing in a very dark gray here, and I am putting a shadow right underneath all of these umbrellas, right underneath their little bottoms, I guess you could say, and this is going to help them jump up off the card and pop away from all that white cardstock. This nice shadow just really gives so much depth to these umbrellas. So I'll go ahead and finish up on all of those bottom umbrellas, putting that shadow in, and then I'm bringing back in that light gray color, and I am going to blend this darker gray down and out away a little bit, but not much. And here you can see this color is building up now. It's getting more intense the more layers I put on here, and the more streaky it becomes as well, and really looks like real rain. Now to make this look like a real stormy sky, I'm bringing in a light blue color, and I am pulling this down, flicking it down away from the bottoms of the umbrellas, and this is what makes it look as if it's an actual sky. I'll also put some in that little open space right above, and that's where it really helps to pay attention when you're stamping, so I know that that's open sky up there and not another umbrella. Now I'm bringing back in that very light gray again, and I am just going to blend all of these colors together, and that will complete the stormy sky look. You can see I'm bringing it all the way down to the bottom as well here. And that finishes it off. Now to put this card together, I kept it again very clean and simple. That's my style. So I'm just going to go ahead and mount this with some double-sided adhesive onto a piece of yellow cardstock from my stash. And this matches the yellow that I colored these umbrellas perfectly, so it kind of carries off onto this cardstock. It looks really neat. You can't tell where it begins and where it ends. So I went ahead and mounted that right onto that piece of yellow cardstock that's cut slightly larger, again with double-sided adhesive. Then I'm going to pop up this yellow piece of cardstock with some fun foam. Again, I'm using the same double-sided adhesive here. I'll peel off the backing paper, and then I will mount this right onto an A2 top folding white card base. Now because I'm using a mat here, you don't see a whole lot of this card base, but it just gives a little nice pop of white. To finish off this card front, I'm going to add some pretty pink posh sequins. These are in the marshmallow color and black. They're the smallest size that they have. I'm not sure exactly what exact size it is, but I'm just putting 5 of these down, 3 black, 2 in the marshmallow. I'm using glossy accents as my glue, and I'm using my quick sticks tool just to make this go a little bit quicker and a little bit easier on me, because I get a little messy with my glue when I try and use my fingers. I'm just going to place one more little marshmallow sequin on, and that will finish off the card front. However, because the sentiment on the front is a question, I went ahead and stamped on the inside as well. I used black dye ink, and it said, "I'm there for you, rain or shine," right on the inside of the card. Here you'll be able to see it. And that finishes off the card for today. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and as always, I will leave you with just a few pictures. For more information and the supply list, you can head on over to my blog, craftingwhilecaffeinated.wordpress.com. The link is in the description box below, as well as the I in the top right hand corner. That will get you there too. Thank you guys so much for watching today, and happy crafting!